Hello, we are Mysterious Case. First and foremost, we express our deepest condolences to the 8 victims and their loved ones, a loss that time cannot erase. Today, let us look back at the case of Robert Aaron Long, and as always, please prioritize safety and live positively. Wishing you a joyful day. Don't forget to support us by liking and subscribing so we can discuss and live better together every day.
That's right, Michael. The FBI is working with local law enforcement here, investigating these shootings. And while it's not clear what led to these killings, it is impossible to ignore that these killings happened at Asian businesses like this one directly behind me in Atlanta, and that most of the victims were Asian women. Georgia authorities are investigating 3 crime scenes across 2 counties and what looks like a series of deadly shootings at Asian massage parlors. I should also point out again that, we still have no motive that police are identifying in this case, but police in cities across the country are responding to this, protectively stepping up patrols in the Asian community.
Robert Aaron Long was born on April 6, 1999, in Woodstock, Georgia, into a conservative Christian family. His parents, Robert and Diane, raised him in a strict religious environment where the Southern Baptist Church played a central role in family life. As a young child, Robert was obedient, shy, and even somewhat clumsy. In 2002, his family moved to a single-story gray ranch-style house purchased for $127,000, a peaceful place for him to grow up. At Sequoia High School, Robert was an active member of honor clubs and religious groups. He had no criminal record, no documented mental health issues, and was a skilled hunter, his proficiency with a rifle honed through after-school hunting trips. Those around him felt safe in his presence, viewing him as a law-abiding young man. But beneath his gentle exterior, Robert began grappling with inner conflicts. The church his family attended held strict views on sin. Adultery, homosexuality, and pornography were considered offenses against God. These values became deeply ingrained in Robert's mind, shaping how he perceived himself in the world. After graduating high school in 2017, he enrolled at the University of North Georgia in Cumming, a 45-minute drive from home. However, he dropped out after his first year, failing to complete any degree. Instead of pursuing his dreams, Robert took on odd jobs for neighbors, gradually slipping into a state of emptiness and lack of direction. This marked the beginning of his downward spiral, a once promising young man now starting to lose his way, with long-suppressed desires on the verge of erupting. After dropping out of college, Robert Aaron Long fell into a period of stagnation, with no stable job and no clear goals. By late 2018, he unexpectedly found an escape through his first romantic relationship. His girlfriend lived in Chattanooga, Tennessee, about 100 miles from his home. According to friends, Robert was infatuated with her, and by January 2019, he decided to leave Woodstock to live with her, despite his family's objections. His parents, unaware of his plans, panicked when he disappeared. They called the police to report him as a runaway, but since Robert was 22 years old, the law could not intervene. This decision marked the first time Robert broke away from the family and religious framework he had once followed. He wanted a fresh start, but the freedom he sought was not what he had imagined. Before long, the relationship revealed serious cracks. Robert began indulging in pornography and frequently visited massage parlors seeking extra services. When his girlfriend discovered this, she angrily kicked him out. Robert returned to Woodstock but didn't go back to his parents' home, instead drifting between temporary shelters or crashing on friends' couches. Despite his addictions, Robert remained torn by his religious faith. He believed he was living in sin, and his sense of shame grew increasingly overwhelming. He once confided to a roommate that he was walking in darkness, tormented by desires he couldn't control. Yet instead of seeking a way out, he sank deeper, regularly accessing the internet and visiting massage parlors. The conflict between his beliefs and his actions thrust Robert into a dangerous psychological spiral, where he both despised himself and couldn't stop. These months laid the groundwork for the horrific tragedy that followed. After being kicked out by his girlfriend, Robert Aaron Long returned to Woodstock in a state of collapse. He had not only lost his relationship, but also the fragile stability in his life. To cope with his addiction, Robert tried to impose strict limits on himself. He deleted his Facebook account, avoided anything that might trigger his desires, and even discarded his smartphone for a flip phone, one that couldn't access the internet. These efforts showed he genuinely wanted to change, but they weren't enough to pull him out of the downward spiral. Friends said Robert often despised himself whenever he relapsed. He viewed watching pornography or visiting massage parlors as personal failures, and the guilt only deepened his depression. The breaking point came when the pandemic hit in 2020, and Robert lost his job at a trade show installation company due to the cancellation of public events. Jobless and aimless, he sank into isolation. Still, he tried to mend his relationship with his parents. They took him back home, but things were far from smooth. Robert's parents, as devout believers, couldn't accept their son's lifestyle. On March 15, 2021, they discovered he was still spending hours each day watching pornography. Disappointed beyond measure, they kicked him out again. Robert returned to a halfway house where he continued to spiral deeper into addiction. The next morning, March 16th, he was caught by a roommate watching adult videos. When asked if he wanted to talk, Robert refused, ashamed and silent. That was the final straw. He could no longer bear the inner conflict between faith, guilt, and desire. A horrific decision began to take shape in his mind. He wanted to free himself and others from the sinful industry, a thought that led him to commit a brutal act just hours later. March 16, 2021, became the darkest day in Robert Aaron Long's life and for the Atlanta community. After being kicked out by his parents and facing shame with his roommate, Robert seemed to have reached a point of no return. Around 2 p.m., he went to a gun store in Holly Springs, Georgia, and legally purchased a 9mm handgun along with a box of ammunition. With no criminal history, the transaction went smoothly. Afterward, he stopped at a liquor store, buying a bottle of hard liquor to build courage for the horrific plan ahead. His first stop was Young's Asian Massage, a parlor near Ackworth. Surveillance cameras captured him arriving, sitting in his car for over an hour, drinking and loading his gun. Strangely, before acting, he paid for an adult service. For about an hour, he allowed a massage worker to perform the service, even though he had already planned to kill her afterward. When the session ended, Robert went to the bathroom, got dressed, and pulled out his gun. He stepped out of the bathroom and coldly opened fire on those around him. The first victim was Paul Andre Michaels, a maintenance worker at the parlor, shot in the head at the front desk. Robert moved down the hallway, killing Xiaoji Tan, the owner, and Delana Gonzalez, a regular customer. 4 people died instantly, and 2 others were injured. The horrifying scene ended when Robert calmly left at 4:50 p.m., got into his car, and drove off as if nothing had happened. But this was just the beginning. He had planned to attack more massage parlors, intending to save others from the industry he blamed for his own sins. His killing spree wasn't over, and Atlanta was about to face more devastating losses.
Just emergency. Yeah, could in your library right now, so can you help me come? Okay, repeat the address. 1916 Piedmont Road. You need police, fire, or an ambulance? Need a police, We need a robbery here. It's a robbery there? Yeah. Okay, is this a house, apartment, or business? Go to spa. They have a gun. They have a gun, you said? Yeah. Where is he at in the building? I don't know. I'm hiding right now. Did you have a description of him? Did you see him? Oh, yeah. Just a white guy. A white male? What is he wearing? I don't know. Please come, okay?
Some guy came in and shoot the gun, so everybody heard the gunshot. Some ladies got hurt, I think, and everybody's scared, so they hiding in the behind. But the ladies passed out.
Okay, let me just let everybody know what's going on. And I understand you're not there.
I'm not there.
Yes, ma'am. But you're giving me some good information. Thank you so much. Bear with me, okay?
An hour after leaving Young's Asian Massage, around 5:50 p.m. on March 16, 2021, he appeared at Gold Spa on Piedmont Road, 30 miles from the first location in Fulton County, Atlanta. With his intent unchanged, he stormed into the parlor and continued his massacre. There he shot and killed 3 women instantly. 2 other employees narrowly survived after hearing the gunshots. They hid in a break room, using objects for cover. Though they escaped death, They couldn't avoid the terror of watching their coworkers fall. Robert then drove to Aromatherapy Spa, another massage parlor in Atlanta. There, he killed one more employee, bringing the total number of deaths to 8 within a few hours. All the attacks targeted Asian massage parlors, plunging the city into panic. Many businesses shut down, and residents feared not knowing where the killer might strike next. Robert seemed to vanish after the third attack, leaving behind blood-soaked scenes and unanswered questions. Police quickly sprang into action, using surveillance footage to identify the suspect as Robert Aaron Long, a 22-year-old man. Surprisingly, his own parents aided the police in tracking him down. They provided information from a phone locator app and a tracking device on his car. With this, authorities discovered Robert heading south on Interstate 75 toward Florida. He wasn't fleeing to escape justice. He intended to continue his killing spree. Robert planned to attack more massage parlors before taking his own life, but fortunately, law enforcement acted in time. At 8:30 p.m., Georgia State Patrol spotted his vehicle, blocked his path, and arrested him after a brief chase. Robert was handcuffed and placed in a police car, ending the bloody rampage that unfolded in mere hours. After his arrest, Robert Aaron Long immediately confessed to all his crimes. He didn't deny anything and even explained the reasons behind his actions in detail. According to him, the attacks weren't driven by racial hatred, but by anger toward the sex industry. Robert claimed these massage parlors were the temptation that led him into addiction and ruined his life. He wanted to eliminate them to save himself and others from sin, a warped logic rooted in his deep internal conflict. Robert had been a regular customer at 2 of the 3 parlors he attacked, making his actions more personal than random. However, the third aromatherapy spa was merely on his route by chance. He admitted that after the killings, he planned to drive to Florida to continue his rampage and then take his own life to end it all. Fortunately, police stopped him before that plan could come to fruition. But what drove a once devout young man to this point? Psychologists suggest that Robert didn't fully fit the clinical definition of sex addiction. The American Psychological Association doesn't recognize sex addiction as an official disorder in the DSM-5. Instead, his behavior might have been a symptom of a deeper issue, the clash between his religious faith and personal desires. Raised in an environment that viewed pornography as a grave sin, he couldn't resist it. Each relapse led to self-loathing, and that guilt built into despair. Rather than seeking healing, he blamed the outside world, specifically the massage parlors, and decided to punish them. His actions weren't just an outburst of rage, but the outcome of a troubled mind. Torn between belief and reality, ultimately choosing violence as a means of release. The attacks by Robert Aaron Long were not just the story of a killer, but also the tragedy of 8 innocent lives. They were mothers, wives, employees, and customers, each with an ordinary story, cut short by his rage. At Young's Asian Massage, Xiaoji Tan, 49, the owner was a cheerful woman from Nanning, China, who always brought smiles to those around her. Dao Yufeng, 44, was remembered by friends as kind and quiet. Paul Andre Michaels, 54, was simply there for maintenance work, while Delana Gonzalez, into 33, a customer, left behind a husband and 2 young children, a teenage boy and an 8-month-old girl. At Gold Spa, Soon Chung Park, 74, cooked for the staff, a healthy woman who dreamed of a long life with her family. Sun Cha Kim, 69, who once worked 3 jobs to support her children, never got the chance to grow old with her husband and grandchildren. Yong Ai Yue, 63, a devoted mother who loved cooking and music, left a gaping void in her family's hearts. At Aromatherapy Spa, Hyun Jung Grant, a single mother and former teacher from Korea, passed away while striving to provide for her 2 sons. These victims were more than numbers in a news report. They led simple lives, worked hard, and many were older Asian women, unconnected to the stereotypes Robert projected onto them. Delana, for instance, was just enjoying a massage with her husband, Mario Gonzalez, who was then mistakenly handcuffed by police as a suspect for 4 hours. Their loss left an unhealing pain for their families and community. The case didn't just take lives, it shattered dreams and the peaceful days of countless loved ones. They deserve to be remembered not merely as victims, but as people who lived fully. The shooting spree by Robert Aaron Long on March 16, 2021, not only shocked Atlanta but also reverberated across the United States. With 8 victims killed, 6 of whom were Asian women, the public immediately questioned, was this a hate crime targeting the Asian community? At the time, tensions from the COVID-19 pandemic still simmered, making Asian Americans targets of widespread prejudice. Increased patrols appeared in Asian neighborhoods and international media, particularly from South Korea, home to over 1.8 million Korean Americans, covered the tragedy extensively. The Atlanta community held numerous memorial events, prayer vigils, protests, and group discussions. On March 26th, a global prayer event drew over 2,000 people from 400 organizations to honor the victims. Yet alongside unity, controversy erupted. Robert claimed his motive wasn't racial, but stemmed from his hatred of the sex industry. After investigation, police and the FBI found no clear evidence of racial bias, but many rejected this conclusion. They pointed out that the victims were predominantly Asian women, and the attacks targeted Asian massage parlors, a detail hard to overlook. Frustration grew when an officer described Robert as just having a bad day, sparking outrage for seemingly downplaying the crime. Politicians weighed in, raising concerns about gun control laws since Robert legally purchased his weapon on the day of the attacks. The incident ignited fierce debate. Was this a result of mental health issues, a hate crime, or both? Though answers remained elusive, it highlighted the insecurity of Asian-owned businesses and societal gaps in addressing violence. For many, this wasn't just Robert's story. It was a warning about deeper, systemic issues in the community. After his arrest, Robert Aaron Long faced 2 separate trials due to the crimes occurring in 2 jurisdictions, Cherokee County and Fulton County. From the outset, he didn't deny his actions. On July 27, 2021, in Cherokee County, Robert pleaded guilty to charges related to the 4 murders at Young's Asian Massage. He was sentenced to life in prison without parole, a severe but inevitable punishment given the brutality of his acts. He didn't use addiction as an excuse. As psychologists confirmed, he didn't meet medical criteria for a sexual disorder. However, in Fulton County, where the other 4 murders took place at Gold Spa and Aromatherapy Spa, the case grew more complex. Prosecutors viewed it as a hate crime targeting Asian women and sought the death penalty. Robert and his legal team fiercely objected, denying racial motives and arguing that his youth, 22 years old, didn't warrant the ultimate punishment. They contended it was an outburst from personal conflict, not deliberate hatred. The prolonged dispute led to multiple trial delays. Though initially scheduled for May 2024, no new trial date has been set, leaving a major question unanswered. Will he face the death penalty? Regardless of the outcome, no sentence can ease the pain of the 8 families who lost loved ones. Many believe life without parole is punishment enough, while others demand stronger justice for a man who took so many lives. Robert's legal journey reflects the case's complexity. It's not just about punishment, but how society confronts mental health, gun violence, and the definition of hate crimes. Even behind bars, his story remains unresolved, casting a heavy shadow over both the community and the justice system. The shooting spree by Robert Aaron Long left a wound not only on Atlanta, but on the entire United States. More than a year after March 16, 2021, the pain of the 8 victims' families remains raw. People like Delana Gonzalez's husband, Hyun Jung Grant's 2 sons, and Yang Ai-Yue's family must learn to live with an irreplaceable void. Atlanta's community, once proud of its diverse culture and rich history, now carries a painful memory alongside its persistent crime struggles. The case sparked endless discussions. How did a once devout young man become a mass killer? Was Robert's mental health overlooked, or did pressure from religion and society push him to a breaking point? His easy purchase of a gun on the day of the attacks reignited questions about weapon control, while dissatisfaction with the police response, like the bad day remark, fueled calls for reform. Most significantly, though no legal evidence of racial hatred was found, many believe the targeting of Asian women wasn't coincidental, especially amid post-pandemic tensions. Justice feels incomplete. It can't bring back those lost or answer the question, how do we prevent such tragedies from recurring? Some honor the victims by advocating for gun reform and mental health support, while others work to dismantle stereotypes against Asians. Robert Aaron Long's case isn't just about crime. It's a reminder that society must confront the hidden conflicts within individuals and communities. Perhaps the greatest lesson is the need for listening and understanding before it's too late. Finally, wishing you a joyful day. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more videos. See you next time.